Hello, welcome. So on the 20th anniversary of the North American release of the Sega Dreamcast, I'm going to do sort of an unboxing video. I mean, it's not boxed exactly like it would have been when it shipped, though this is a launch system. And it includes a gray Dreamcast unit, modem, controller, power cable, stereo AV cable, phone cable, and instruction manual. So of course this released on September 9th, 1999 in the US, November 27th, 1998 in Japan, and October 14th, 1999 in Europe. Japan only had 4 launch titles. Just gonna kind of flip the box, it's the same picture all over. Europe had 10 launch titles, and the US had a whopping 19 launch titles. The sides of the box just have a few screenshots. It'll be a little blurry because I'm getting close to the camera. Really not much to see. And up here it just says, "Thank you for purchasing the Sega Dreamcast." I'm just going to lay it down and slide stuff out. So the Dreamcast didn't last too long. It did really well in its first few months, selling 1.5 million units in North America. But PlayStation 2 was not far off. And in January 2001, Sega announced it would be discontinuing the Dreamcast on March 31st, 2001. Flip this over, the tray's upside down. So yeah, the last game officially was released February 14th, 2002, which was NHL 2K2. So the North American library is 247 games. That's quite a bit for a system that is really only around for less than 2.5 years, or about that. So it's packaged in a tray here, and of course I have all the plastic bags everything came in. And it's 7 inches by 7 inches. Not very big. It has power button, open button, little orange light when you turn it on. 4 controller ports. It says compatible Windows CE on the front. Let me just adjust the focus, just because the box is so big. I'm not sure if it's how accurate it is. Nothing on this side. Just, basic details on the bottom. This side has the modem. You can see on the back the hookups here. That's where the phone line would go. Here's a 56K modem. The network wasn't really up and running completely for a while. Like, you could play early 2000 Choo Choo Rocket, but Sega didn't have its own network up for another year, at which point it had its own subscription. Price of the console was dropped to $149, but you could, if you subscribed to SegaNet for maybe a full year, you could get a console for free, I believe. Of course, obviously I bought mine at launch. Just open that up. So it uses GD-ROMs, Sega's proprietary format. And you get the phone cable, AV cables, and the power cord. And the controller, before I go over the controller, let me just flip through the paperwork here. Of course, one thing to note is the swirl here is orange in the US and Japan, but it's blue in Europe due to another company having a similar logo. So to get is a magazine offer for the Dreamcast magazine. I did subscribe to this. It's a very good magazine, but with the life of the Dreamcast cut short, so was the magazine. The magazine much shorter because once Sega announced the discontinuation, even though games would release for another year, the magazine ended just about right there. It was April, May issue. 2001 was the last issue. You get an ESRB card explaining the rating systems. Registration, which apparently I did not fill out or mail in. and you could win a Crazy Taxi arcade machine. I should note, as always, I've scanned most of the documents. They'll be on the blog. I'll leave a link in the video description. Like all these papers, I'm sure they're not too exciting to look at. Because it comes with a modem, you need these extra regulations for Canada and US, modem regulations, safety instructions. And this manual, 31 pages. I only scanned a few pages of this, like this page, just to show the basics. And it includes a web browser, so you could surf the web. So you gotta use the disk. I believe, I never really used it for online functions. Problem is that this released in a time when cable modems were starting, to get going. And of course, this is a 56K modem, so I didn't have a dial-up service. There were free ones. The one I tried didn't work too well. I tried playing Choo Choo Rocket on the dial-up. It was really difficult though. There's a second web browser. Excuse me. So if you bought your Dreamcast later, you might have web browser 2.0, which you could get either through the internet, the update, or using the demo discs that came with the magazine. Also came with a demo disc itself here with a handful of games you could try out, and there were also trailers for other games you could watch. This is Generator Volume 1. Again, if you had a later console, later Dreamcast, you might have gotten Generator Volume 2. I am going to take a look at this, so the last 10 minutes or so of the video are this. I'll turn on the console, look at the menu system, load this up. I'm just going to play Sonic Adventure on there. I'll leave a timestamp in the description too if you just want to jump to that. The controller, so you get the one analog stick, the D-pad, start button, A, B, X, Y colored buttons, and 2 triggers. Of course, the main thing with the controller is there's 2 slots for accessories. The main accessory is the visual memory unit, or VMU, which is a memory card and a little handheld device you could play some mini games on. And it has a screen, which is why this is cut out, so you could view it while the system is on. And then you could stick another VMU if you wanted it in the second port. You could also stick a jump pack, which is Sega's official vibration feedback device. And C-Man, the game, it came with a microphone that plugs in there. So a few different accessories can go in these slots. I only own 2 controllers, the one that came with the system, and then this is the packaging single controllers came in. Okay, VMU, got a bunch of VMUs, they're all the same though. So they have really small buttons. I never really used them to play games on. Flip it over to see the back. Very slippery packaging. So you got this tiny sleep button that turns it on and off, a mode button to cycle through the few options you have there, A and B button, and a tiny D-pad. I'll turn it on. I may have bumped it twice. There it is. It takes 2 batteries. They're, I think, 2032 model batteries, those flat batteries. So the modes is the game mode, and then there's a clock. Just tells you the time. I don't think I set this correctly. And I have a dog running across my screen. You can set a few different things. You may have to set them, I think, within the console itself. So when you put it in the console, you can also assign it a color and an image that'll appear on the screen when the console is on and it's plugged into that. This one is set to the planet Saturn, not the console Saturn, but they'll just display an image of the planet when I turn on the console if it's plugged in. And I don't have any games on this. There's a food management thing in here for C-Man. The only thing that comes up is a seed. If you can see that too well. Not much to see, just a round object. So it's a neat little device. I just didn't do much with it other than use it as a memory card. So the top comes off and it slides in here. You could also connect two VMUs that way, top to top, if you want to transfer data. One thing I did, because you can't tell these apart unless they're plugged into the system, is I attached, which I have on the bottom of these, colored twisty ties. There's a red and a black one here, and I had a white one on that. And then I just wrote down on the piece of paper what was on each one. Because it's pretty tough to tell them apart. I don't think the US had very many. I may have had a black one because they did sell a black console later. But not like Japan, who had probably a couple dozen different types of designed VMUs, like different colors and different like game-related designs on them. But we didn't get too much of that. Alright, I don't own a jump pack, but I do have a third-party similar thing called a tremor pack. I'll just pull out and plug it in. And it's going to look almost identical to Sega's because it has to fit in this controller spot. So it just goes in like so. Clicks in place. So you'd want to put the jump pack in the back, otherwise it would block the second slot because it is bulkier. Alright, so I was going to plug this in, not that it mattered. Until I will turn on the system though before I switch to the demo. I do have one more accessory to show you, and that is the broadband adapter. I actually did buy it, even though I don't think I ever used it. Problem is, Sega released a broadband adapter for cable modems in January 2001, just a few weeks before, you know, it announced that it was going to stop supporting the Dreamcast. So the timing was really bad. It was only available through Sega's website. I ordered it, I think it was $50, and then I learned Dreamcast is discontinuing, and then only a few games officially support it. It's possible to get other games to run, I believe, but I never tried. So, disappointing. I was originally going to play Phantasy Star Online, which is not one of the officially supported games, but supposedly people can make it work with this. I just never bothered to try. So, it looks the same as the modem that's on there. I mean, it has to, because it has to fit into the spot. This just detaches. You can see it basically looks the same. The only difference, of course, is the port. One says line, one says LAN. And there you go. You have a broadband adapter instead of a dial-up. So, last thing to just mention are games. I'm not going to show all my games. I'm just going to show you the packaging differences. And this is a list of all 247 games that released in North America. So I scanned this for the blog too. I'm not going to read all 247 titles. There's some good ones. Of course, Soul Calibur was the really big one that was at launch, and still remains one of the best games. So the packaging started with a white design. I mean, the console's light gray, but it matches mostly, and I think it looks great. It stands out, but for some reason Sega switched to black packaging, just like it switched to a black console. The black console first was in the sports pack bundle. It's nice to have color options, but really everything was moving to black, at least as far as game packaging, which made it look more similar, I guess, to original PlayStation. PlayStation 2 had DVD type boxes, so it didn't look quite like this, but I don't know, they went with black. They also removed Sega from in front of the Dreamcast. So here you can see it says Sega Dreamcast. Dreamcast was moved to the manual, and then there's light gray text in there in the sidebar here, but it just says Dreamcast, then the logo, then Dreamcast. So yeah, they removed Sega from in front of the name Dreamcast. But it's not on the console either, you can see. It was kind of, even though in some of those press releases it'll say Sega Dreamcast, it really was marketed just as Dreamcast. Not like the other Sega consoles, like Sega Saturn, Sega Genesis. Sega typically called it just Dreamcast. Alright, so I'm going to just do a slight edit because I got to get up and plug this in. Alright, it's now plugged in. I will power it on. Notice the light came on, and the VMU will eventually pop on. So I can get a good, there you go. And like I said, it'll be, there it is, this picture of the planet Saturn. Alright, so now I'm going to, swap to the menu system, so it'll be, no camera. It'll be recording straight from my television. So every time you start the Dreamcast and the internal battery is dead, you get brought to this screen where you set the date and time, but it'll reset every time the system is turned off until you replace the battery, which is a bit of a pain. You can see the default date is the Dreamcast launch date in Japan. I'm going to skip this, of course, but in most cases it doesn't matter, except when you're playing a game like Seaman where it runs off the internal time and date, so you really need to set it every time or replace the battery if you're going to play that game. So here on the menu, you can see Play, File, Music, and Settings. File is just to look at what's on the VMUs that are plugged in. You can set a picture and a color for each VMU. And it just shows little icons and the number of blocks they're taking up. And you can play music CDs. And then a few different settings. You can choose a different language, date, time, stereo or mono sound, and auto start on or off. That's if a disc is in it, it'll auto run. You notice there that little swirl's blue like the European one, and then it switches colors to match the US. Alright, so I'm going to put the Generator Volume 1 demo disc in. I really wanted to just play the Power Stone demo, but it just won't work with my recording device. I don't know why. I tried 3 other games and they work perfectly fine, but as soon as I start the Power Stone game, the recording device loses the signal. And I can play the game directly to my TV just fine. I don't know what it is that the device doesn't like. I tried going through the VCR as well and it still wouldn't take it. So, I'm just going to play the brief Sonic Adventure demo. I do own the full game, but I just wanted to play something on here, and it seemed to be the best one to play other than Power Stone. So we'll flip through the games here. There's fishing, Sega Bass Fishing, Flag to Flag, which is for Formula 1. House of the Dead 2, I'd play, but I think it's M-rated, so I don't play M-rated games on this channel. And then these are just videos. And Ready to Rumble. I do own a lot of these games. Yeah, there's so many racing games, and it's another Formula 1. Of course, Power Stone. Alright, so I'll load up Sonic Adventure. It does give the controls, which I need to pay attention to. So you can rotate the camera with the trigger. See, I played it very little bit, but I'm so used to that right analog stick on controllers today. I'm constantly looking for it to rotate the camera, but it's just not there. So there are spin dashes and jumps. That's about it. Yeah, I'm not great at Sonic games. I never have been. Of course, this 3D one is very different than the side-scrollers. But I do own this game, like I said, and I have finished it. So I must have gotten somewhat decent. I think I just played on the default difficulty. Yeah, let's watch the little video intro here. Alright, so that was impressive for 1999, right? Yeah, who can remember back then? I certainly can't. Alright, this is the trial version. You get one stage. It's relatively short, so I'll complete it. At least I should be able to complete it. You mostly just have to run forward. There's not very many enemies. You can just dodge them. I'm not going to worry about collecting the gold rings. Let's see, rotate the camera. Look at that, they put all that stuff back there. The camera just instantly goes the other way. I didn't even notice these were back here before. But I just said I wasn't going to collect the rings, so who cares? That. Oh, that was really bad. Oh, I hadn't done that earlier. Okay. Sorry about that. I gotta repeat this a little bit. Oh. I really didn't even need to do that. It's just to get back up. A lot of these little things that just launch you all over the place. Watch out for that. As soon as you touch certain parts of the level, you come to a complete stop. You gotta be careful what you're being into. Extra life over there, but I won't worry about it. Gosh, I just bang into everything all the time. If you do kill these enemies, they turn into your little animal friends to rescue. Right? Yeah. Well, I'm just in a hurry, so... Oops. Almost at the end. I can't grab this guy. Thought I was almost at the end. Oh, I didn't push the button fast enough. You gotta...
Jump on panel number 1. It will take you to panels 2 and 3. Jump as soon as you land on a panel or else you'll fall.
Okay, where am I? Going this way, I guess. Where are you, Tails? Oh, he's at the end of this. Crashed his plane. And that is the end of the trial version. just tells you the game is in store now. It doesn't say stores, it says store. Alright, so that will be the end of the video as well. Thanks for watching.